Alhamdulillahi wa kafa. Wassalamun ala ibadihi allazina astafa amma ba'd. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Inna haza lahu al-bala'ul mubin. Wa fadaynahu bizibhin azim. Salamun ala Ibrahim. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun ala al-mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. Alhamdulillah, as we speak, thousands of Muslims, they have gathered right now in the sacred places of Makkah Mukarramah, Mina, and in a few hours, next day they will be traveling to Arafah. So we should be feeling these days, these moments with the Hujjaj. During these days of Hajj, we learn that we should be feeling these days. Our elders, our Salaf Salihin, our scholars, they would say that we have heard, Ya Allah, that on your threshold, on your doorstep, your lovers will be gathering. Your lovers, the lovers of Allah Ta'ala, will be arriving. They will be gathering in your love, for your love. And as we speak, there will be people there in those sacred places, and the atmosphere is filled with the echo of Labbaik, Allahumma Labbaik. So what a beautiful and unique environment would be there. This great event of Hajj is taking place. And we also make dua that, oh Allah, that grant us also permission. We also wish to be amongst them. The great lesson during these days for us is that if we are not going for Hajj, our hearts should be there, our desires should be there, and our du'as should be with the Hujjaj as well. The season of Hajj is a great occasion of Islam. It's a celebration of Islam. How should we understand the spirit of Hajj and how we can revive that spirit of Hajj within us? For that, we need to go back to that story of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam and understand that how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us with this incredible gift which is called Hajj, and then after Hajj, this incredible celebration which is called Eid. In order to truly revive the spirit of Hajj and the spirit of Qurbani or sacrifice within us, we have to learn the history. Sayyidina Ibrahim ﷺ was born in Iraq and he grew up there. His family members were idol worshippers, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded him to call his people to Tawheed. He tried, but people did not listen. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent 3 imtihan or tests in the life of Sayyidina Ibrahim ﷺ. Many times we understand that we have some test and difficulty, hardship in our life, and we become shaky in our iman. But the usul and the principle we should remember is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests us, and then those who pass that test, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants them kubuliyat, acceptance. And the way we can understand this is that on our medicine bottles, we have this phrase, they write, shake well before use. That if you want to use this medicine, you should shake it well before using. This is the sunnat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that when Allah wishes to use someone for deen and grant them kubuliyah and an incredible, extraordinary kubuliyat, then before that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests them, Allah ta'ala shakes them. So Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam was to be given this kubuliyat of creating the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We do the tawaf of this house of Allah. The Zamzam, this nemat of Zamzam was to come in the family of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. And this incredible celebration of sacrifice and Eid was to come because of the barakah of the household of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. But before this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam with 3 events. The first is that the father of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam used to carve idols. And the people, they became very angry with Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam for breaking these idols. And then they built a very huge, fierce and a raging fire in which they wanted to throw Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. And they lit that fire for many days. And then they decided that harriquhu, we will burn Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. That fire was so intense that no one could go near that fire, so they built a catapult, like a swing, a big swing, in which they placed Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. And then they threw Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam inside that fire. When Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam was being catapulted into that fire, 2 angels, Hazrat Jibreel alayhi salam and Hazrat Mikail alayhi salam, they asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for permission to assist Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. He was the Khalilullah, the friend of Allah. So they expressed their concern. Allah ta'ala granted them permission that go assist him. If he wants help, you can help him. So at this very critical moment, Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam is in mid-air, about to land inside that fire. These 2 angels, they come and they ask Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam that we are here to help you, command us and we will help you. And all what Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam responds is by saying that, did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send you, or have you come of your own accord? And they said that no, we asked Allah ta'ala for permission, but we are here on our own. We just on our own want to help you. And Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam then responded that in that case, I don't need your help. Allah ta'ala knows my condition. And the fact that Allah knows my condition, this is sufficient for me. He has knowledge of everything. Allah knows my hal, my state. I don't need your help. This was the level of iman and reliance and tawakkul of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. And this is a moment that we should introspect, that what is the level of our iman. We are also going through difficulties, whether in our individual life or different Muslim countries, different parts of the world. Our hearts are bleeding for them. But this is the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends tests and trials. Allah says in Quran that we will test you. We tested people before you as well. مَسَّتْهُمُ الْبَأْسَاءُ وَالضَّرَّاءُ وَزُلْزِلُوا حَتَّى يَقُولَ الرَّسُولُ. That they were touched by poverty, by hardship. They were shaken. And they were shaken so much until their messenger, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مَعَهُ, and those who believed in that messenger, they collectively they said, Mata Nasrullah, when will the help of Allah Ta'ala come? Allah inna nasrallahi qareeb, know that the help of Allah is very near. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, help is going to come, but it doesn't come immediately. Sometimes the help of Allah Ta'ala comes at the last split moment. And here also, if Allah Ta'ala made that fire into a garden before, Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam was thrown inside that fire, then that would not be extraordinary. When did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it into a garden? When Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam was just about to touch that fire. At that split moment, at that time, Allah Ta'ala showed His qudrat, showed His power. Allah Ta'ala commanded the fire, Kulna ya naru kuni bardan wa salaman ala Ibrahim. That, O fire, cool down and become a means of safety for Ibrahim. Subhanallah. That don't become cold like a freezer, but become cool and comfortable for Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam. And the unbelievers, they saw that Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam was enjoying the garden in the fire. Allahu Akbar. And it has been in a riwayat, it's mentioned that Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam was cast into that fire for 40 or 50 days. And Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, he said that the days that I spent inside that fire were the best days of my life. I wish that my entire life was like those days that I spent inside that fire. The lesson that we can learn from this is never should we lose a trust in the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No matter what happens, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is aware of our condition and Allah will send His help. We need to become strong in our iman and we need to learn this tawakkul and reliance on Allah. Then when Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, and we also learned that hidayat is not necessarily in miracles. People saw that miracle, but still did not bring iman. So this was the first test. Then a second test came in the life of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. He came out from that fire and he said that, Inni zahibun ila rabbi sayahdin. I'm going to my Lord, Allah, He will show me the way. And this statement expressed his intention that I'm making hijrat. I'm migrating away from this place. So he left Iraq and he migrated to Canaan, which today we know as Palestine. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes this land as a land of barakah. Alladhi barakna hawlahu. Allah ta'ala has blessed this entire land. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam with a son, Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam, and instructed him that to leave this land of milk and honey, this land of Palestine, which is what you call Sham, which includes Syria, Jordan, this whole entire area, this region is full of barakah. And Allah Ta'ala's blessings and barakah will continue to descend on these areas until Yawm al-Qiyamah. But here Allah Ta'ala instructed Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam to leave this blessed region and go where? Go to a barren desert land of Makkah Mukarramah. A wadi, a valley which doesn't have any vegetation, no water. Makkah Mukarramah was a place, one poet he says that the condition of that place at that time was that fear was also afraid of that place. And that is how barren, unfamiliar, unknown, no vegetation, not even a blade of grass, absolutely nothing there. And the hukum came to migrate to that place. So Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, he proceeded to that area. When he went to that area, Ajib, he is migrating with his wife Sayyidina Hajra alayhi salam and their baby Hazrat Ismail alayhi salam. On arrival, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam to leave his family and return back to Palestine. To leave his family there in that desert and come back to Palestine. Now, this is the imtihan, this is the test. And this is a very difficult test. We go to our offices and then sometimes we have this concern that what will happen back home. We have fikr about our children, about our spouse. There might be some emergency, they might need something. There's always this fikr and concern that my family is all alone. when we have to go to another city or another country, our family, they're protected inside their home. Still, we have this fikr and concern. And here, what was the hukum of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam? That leave your family and an infant, in a place where there is no water, no house, it's a desert, barren area. Any animal can come, a snake can come, any other animal can come. What? They will have to spend the night there. How will they pass the night? And there you have to leave your wife all alone. And not just leave your wife, but you have to leave your infant there. People have a natural love for their child. But this hukum came. But the iman of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam was very strong. And Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, when the hukum came, he placed his family there, and then he turned around and he started walking in the opposite direction. He didn't utter anything with his tongue, with his mouth. In his heart there was this grief, but he did what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded him to do. This was immediate obedience and submission. Without hesitation, he began to walk away. Now his wife, Sayyidina Hajar alayhi salatu wasalam, naturally, she was surprised that her husband was leaving her there without any provisions. But when you have Islam and there is Iman in the hearts, true Iman in the hearts of the couple, then Allah Ta'ala places this unique love between a husband and a wife. Ajib. So she asked Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam a very beautiful question in a very beautiful manner. That, where are you going, O my master? And he did not reply. He continued walking in obedience to the command of Allah Ta'ala, not wanting to delay in fulfilling the command of Allah. Then she asked him the second time the same question, that why are you leaving us here and where are you going? Again, no reply. But she was also the wife of a Nabi. She had the tarbiyat of a Nabi. So then the third time she asked a different question, that did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala command you to leave us here? And then Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam replied that yes, this is the command of Allah. And then she said that in that case, Allah Ta'ala will never waste us away. He will never destroy us. Subhanallah. Her iman was also so firm and so certain, so strong, that she also immediately accepted this command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, when he traveled some distance and he went on the other side of the mountain, now he couldn't see his wife and his infant. So at that time he stood up and he made this dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because naturally in the heart there was this concern and fikr. So he made this dua, Rabbana inni askantu min zurriyati biwadin ghayri zi zar'in inda baytikal muharrami. That, oh my Rabb, I have left my wife, my child, at a place which is near your house, in a region which has no vegetation. لِيُقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ. I've left them there so that they can establish salah, so that they can do good deeds which will please you. فَجْعَلْ أَفْئِدَةً مِّنَ النَّاسِ تَهْوِي إِلَيْهِمْ. So, Ya Allah, I ask you that you incline the hearts of people towards them, put muhabbat and love in the hearts of people for them, and give them rizq. وَرُزُقْهُمْ مِنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَشْكُرُونَ. And Allah gave them food and provision to eat so that they become grateful servants. And Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam also made this dua, that Allah make this place a place of aman. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted this dua as it is. But in fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave much more to Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. Made this a place of aman, And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provided all kinds of fruits and provisions to that place. Today, if you go to Makkah Mukarramah, you see that every fruit is available there. This is the barakah of this dua of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. So Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, he succeeded in this test as well. And we learn another great lesson here, that when a person fulfills the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will never destroy us. This is an important lesson, because our condition is that we break the laws of Allah. So many times we break the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We break the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If only we start to obey the commands of Allah. When we disobey, then how will the help of Allah ta'ala come? How will this special madad and qubuliyat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala come? This is linked with obedience. That if we can bring it back, that obedience. Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, he obeyed the command of Allah in such difficult circumstances. What happened? Allah ta'ala took care of his family. And not just took care of the family, Allah ta'ala kept their lives as an example for all of us, for all of mankind. Honored Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam and honored every single fard, every single individual of the family of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam until Yawm al-Qiyamah. Allahu Akbar. Now when the Hujjaj, they run between Safa and Marwa, they are emulating Hazrat Hajar alayhi salatu wassalam, who in her desperate plight, she ran between Safa and Marwa. There was no water. She is running between Safa and Marwa in search of water. And then after the 7th chakkar, the 7th round, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave her this nemat of Zamzam. And where did this Zamzam flow from? The water of Zamzam came forth at the heel of Hazrat Ismail alayhi salam, who was an infant. In his restlessness and his thirst, he was kicking his feet in the ground. And Allah Ta'ala brought the spring of Zamzam into existence at the heel of Hazrat Ismail alayhi salam. The meaning of Zamzam is stop, stop. And if a Mahadra alayhi salam, she had not said Zamzam, this water would have continued flowing on the earth. In a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said that may Allah Ta'ala have mercy on the mother of Ismail. Had she let the Zamzam flow without trying to control it, or had she not scooped from that water to fill her water container, then Zamzam would have been a stream flowing on the surface of the earth. And today, alhamdulillah, we find the water of Zamzam all corners of the earth. Millions of liters are being consumed by the Hujjaj every day. Millions of liters are taken by the Hujjaj back to their countries. Millions of liters are transported from Makkah Mukarramah to other places, to Medina Munawwara, for the visitors who are there. Allahu Akbar. But the water never disappears. The water never finishes. And Allah Ta'ala has established such a system, all because of the barakah of that sa'i of Amma Hajara alayhi salatu wassalam. This is her qubuliyat. A qubuliyat of a woman, a qubuliyat of a non-nabi, that when she has iman on Allah, when she has reliance on Allah, and she says such words that Allah will never waste me away, Allah will never destroy us. She does whatever she can. She can just run between those two hills. So she does. She makes that effort. But in her heart there is contentment. In her heart her gaze is fixed on Allah. And the result of that is qubuliyat. And such amazing qubuliyat that her footsteps, her walking, her running is now the sunnat for all of us. Is the sunnat of every haji who will be going and performing hajj. They will have to do sa'i. Revive the sunnah of Mahadra alayhi salam. This was made the sunnah of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu was told to emulate this sunnah of Mahadra alayhi salam, to walk between sa'i, to walk between Safa and Marwa. And every one of the ummati of the Prophet sallallahu, when they go for Hajj or Umrah, they revive the sunnah of Mahadra alayhi salam. This is called qubuliyat. This is what happens when a person has Iman on Allah and true Iman, and they obey the hukum of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is Zamzam. The barakat of Zamzam is the obedience of Allah ta'ala, is reliance on Allah ta'ala. And we learned this, that when we are obedient to Allah ta'ala, Allah ta'ala will grant us this unlimited barakah. Barakah unlimited. One poet used to say that Allah, my lap is so small and limited, your gifts are so great and unlimited. Allahu Akbar. Then, when Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, he passed this test, then came the third test, which was perhaps in one sense the most difficult of all, which was the sacrifice. After 9 years, Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, he made hijrah, he came back, his wife was there, his child was there. So after 9 years, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then told Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, was commanded Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, that now go back. Go and visit your wife and visit your son. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructed Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam to slaughter his son. Now this is also another amazing story. And you can understand that Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam, he must be about 7-8 years old. And Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, he saw a dream in which he saw that he is doing zibah of his son. This is why, the reason why I said this is one of the greatest imtihan is because with your own children and to do such an act, it's very difficult, inconceivable. But this was the hukum of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, he conveyed this command of Allah ta'ala to his son, asking him that what does he think about this. Qala ya bunayya, Allah in Quran mentions that he said to his son that, oh my beloved son, inni ara fil manami, I see in a vision, a dream, that anni asbahuka, that I'm offering you in sacrifice. Fanzur maza tara, now tell me what is your view. Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam was not making mashwara with his son, that tell me. He was actually testing his son to gauge the level of his iman, the degree of his submission, to see the fruits of his mother's ta'aleem and tarbiyah. He wanted to ask this question, he wanted to know the reply, so that he would know how to carry out the hukum of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The hukum of Allah needed to be carried out. But if Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam, he does it willingly, then there will be one way to carry out this hukum. And if he refuses, then there will be another way to carry out the hukum. So he was testing his son. But then the reply came from his son, Allahu Akbar. And one poet, Allama Iqbal, he said about this particular specific moment, that the reply, was it the blood of the father or was it the milk of the mother, which made Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam gave such an answer? It was really both, the tarbiyah of the father and the tarbiyah of the mother. What answer did Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam give to his father? He said, Qala ya abati, O my father, if al-ma tu'mar, do as you're commanded. Satajiduni insha'allahu minas sabirin. You will find me, if Allah wills, to be practicing patience, to be amongst the sabirin. From this we learn how important tarbiyat is. We need to give our children the proper tarbiyat, the proper Islamic education, Islamic nurturing, Islamic training, to be like this, a good, sincere, devoted Muslim. We need to take a lesson from Hajra alayhi salam. She's a role model for all mothers. She brought up her son so beautifully, nurturing this obedience to the command of Allah, this absolute submission to the hukum of Allah, that he could present such an answer. Allah Akbar, our kids, if we, for a moment, if we make this comparison, that to be able to present such an answer to your father, that Allah, that my father, do as you're commanded, do as you're commanded. Satajiduni insha'Allahu min as-sabirin. Allah wills, Allah, my father, he will find me to be amongst the sabirin. Today our tarbiyat is different. Today our environments are different. So then the father and the son, they left to carry out the command of Allah Ta'ala. Now interestingly, what happens on this journey is that first Shaitan, he came and approached Hajra alayhi salam and asked her, and he did this waswasa to her, that do you know where your husband and son are going? And she replied that yes, my son is gone to fetch some firewood with his father. Shaitan said that no. His father has taken him to slaughter him. So she responded that, have you ever heard of a father sacrificing his son? And Shaitan said that no, he has been commanded by Allah Ta'ala to slaughter your son. When she got this answer from Shaitan, she replied, Ajib reply, that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded this, then it must be done. Subhanallah. What was the level of their iman? And how far we are from this reality. That we find waking up for Fajr difficult. This is the effort that we need to make on our iman, to bring the reality of iman, the spirit of iman into us. This is the kalma, when the first thing that you learn, when we make the zikr of La ilaha illallah. This is the spirit. La ilaha. There is no being worthy of worship, no being worthy of submission, no being worthy of being listened to. Illallah, except Allah. Allah, only you, O Allah, you and your command. When you say La ilaha, Allah, with La ilaha, I'm taking out all the filth from my heart. I'm taking out all the dirt away from my heart. I'm taking out all ghayrullah from my heart. I'm taking out all makhluk from my heart. I'm cleansing my heart, emptying my heart, removing everything from my heart. And with illallah, Allah, in my heart, there is only space for you and you alone. Tu hi tu. Allah, you and you alone. I'm putting only you, O Allah, into my heart. You and all ghayrullah has been removed from my heart. This is our kalma, La ilaha illallah. And this is that kalma that we need to do zikr of. And especially in our zamana, where there are so many fitna, when people's iman are shaky, young people, old people, business people, women, we have to build up our iman. We have to build our iman by connecting ourselves to the zikr, connecting ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the zikr. So, to get the reality of sacrifice, we need to have this kind of a firm iman inside of our hearts. Then Shaitan, he went to Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, and he asked him that, where are you going? And he said that I'm going to slaughter my son. So Shaitan asked that, can a father slaughter his son? And Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam responded that Allah Ta'ala has commanded me to do this. So when they reached this place called Jamaratul Aqaba, Shaitan blocked their way. And the angel who was with Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, he instructed him that you throw 7 stones at Shaitan. So Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, he threw those 7 stones at Shaitan. Then Shaitan again blocked his way at Jamaratul Wusta. Again, Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, he threw 7 stones at Shaitan. And then once more Shaitan, he blocked his way at Jamaratul Ula. And again Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, he pelted Shaitan with 7 stones and defeated Shaitan. So this pelting of the Shaitan that we carry out in Mina during the days of Hajj, this is the sunnat of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam. Then third time, Shaitan came to Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam to try Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam. That, do you know where your father is taking you? He said, I'm going with my father. My father said that I want you to meet someone big. So then Shaitan said that no, your father is taking you because he wants to sacrifice you. And Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam said that father will never sacrifice his son. So no, your father will sacrifice because this is the hukum of Allah. And he said that if this is the hukum of Allah, then I'm ready to be sacrificed in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahu Akbar. Now the father and son both are ready for this sacrifice. Both are ready. So the son, he says to his father that, oh my father, perhaps your love for me will overcome you, so blindfold me, so that our eyes, they don't meet, and make the knife very sharp, so the work can be done very quickly. And oh my father, you did not bring any coffin for me, so after you slaughter me, you're going to need something to bury me. So remove my kurta and use it for my coffin. This is qurbani that is taking place. The father, Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, is a Nabi, Khalilullah. And also we understand that Allah Ta'ala gave every Nabi the minimum strength of 100 men. And Allah Ta'ala made the body of every Nabi very soft, very delicate, very tender. And the son, Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam, who was just 9 years old, he was also destined to be a Nabi. And he was also made of this very delicate fiber. So on one hand, the father was a Nabi with the strength of 100 men, with a sharp knife, and he is standing at the delicate throat of his son, who was destined to be a Nabi. And then with his full force and power, Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam tries to cut at the throat of Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam. But the knife did not cut. The knife was not moving. The knife did not cut through. One poet, he described the scene in his own imagination. And he said that, oh knife, why are you not cutting? If I were to place you on a rock, you would have cut through it. Yet the throat of my son you do not cut. And then the knife replied that, oh Khalilullah, must I listen to the Khalil or must I listen to Jalil? Jalil is the name of Allah Ta'ala. Allah Ta'ala has commanded me not to cut the throat of Ismail alayhi salam, not even slightly. For every time you're asking me to cut, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding me not to cut several times. So from this we understand that the knife cannot act on its own. It is only going to act by the command of Allah Ta'ala. This is yaqeen. And we need to bring this yaqeen in our hearts in everything that we do. My business cannot give me profit. My job cannot give me profit. This medicine cannot give me shifa unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills for it. La ilaha illallah. There is none worthy of worship except Allah. There is none worthy of that power and qudrat except Allah. La ilaha illallah wahdahu. He is one, He is alone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone has all the qualities of providing. This business, my factory, my job, this career, these are all sabab, a means. This medicine is a means. We have to adopt the means because we are living in this world of means, which is Darul Asbab. However, there should be yaqeen that it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has the power over everything. Allah ta'ala provides, Allah ta'ala cures, Allah ta'ala does whatever He wills. Wahdahu la sharika lahu. And in the execution of all affairs, running the entire universe, la sharika lahu. Allah Ta'ala is independent, doesn't need anyone, doesn't need anything, doesn't need not even the malaika, not even the angels. So when Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, he passed this test with flying colors, then Allahu Akbar, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about this Allah Ta'ala mentions, this was when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed that a ram came and that was sacrificed instead of Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam. So this is the story behind the sacrifice. And about this Allah Ta'ala mentions in the Quran, Inna haza lahuwal bala'ul mubin. That indeed this was a very big test. وَفَدَيْنَاهُ بِذِبْحٍ عَظِيمٍ سَلَامٌ عَلَى Ibrahim. Oh Ibrahim, salamati be upon you. Like when you congratulate someone, that shabash to you, mubarak to you, congratulations to you. That's the andaz that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using here. Salamun ala Ibrahim. That Ibrahim, you have done such a wonderful thing. Jeete raho. Congratulations to you. And this qurbani that you have done, Allah Ta'ala loved this qurbani so much that وَتَرَكْنَا عَلَيْهِ فِي الْآخِرِينَ, that we will make this a sunnat for people to come after you, so that this qurbani will remind them of this lover of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of this one lover of Allah ta'ala, who was willing to sacrifice even his son for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And today also we revive this sunnat of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam by celebrating this Eid al-Azha. So alhamdulillah, this qurbani of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam was so makbul, so beloved to Allah, that till Yawm al-Qiyamah people will celebrate and people will use this as a way to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, he passed this test. Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam, he came with the ram. This ram came from Jannah. And as Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam was descending, he called out, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. And in the riwayat it's mentioned that this name of Allah Ta'ala used to have a very deep impact upon Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. When he heard the name of Allah Ta'ala, his attention moved away from Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam. And he saw Jibreel alayhi salam with the ram. And with joy and happiness, all the malaika, they were crying out, they were calling out, La ilaha illallahu wallahu akbar. That takbir we are supposed to recite, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallahu wallahu akbar, Allahu Akbar walillahil hamd. This is what happened at that time. The angels are crying out, they're calling out with joy and happiness. So this only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has control. And we must remember that Allah Ta'ala does not take qurbani. Allah Ta'ala asks for qurbani. He asks because He wants to see if you're prepared to sacrifice for Him or not. So from our side, we must be prepared to sacrifice everything for the sake of Allah Ta'ala. We should be eager, willing to sacrifice for the one who has given us everything. In Quran, Qul inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya wa mamati lillahi rabbil alameen. That say, truly my salah and my sacrifice, my life, my death are all for Allah Ta'ala. Lillahi rabbil alameen, was Rabbul alameen. Let our lives be for Allah Ta'ala, Allah and Allah alone. And then Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, he said, Allahu Akbar wa lillahil hamd. The angels, they said the first two sentences, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah. Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam said, Allahu Akbar wa lillahil hamd. And then he slaughtered the ram. And the malaika, they witnessed this scene. And this was a scene that made the arsh, the heavens and the earth move. This is the spirit of qurbani and sacrifice. Qurbani is not about getting the cheapest animal in the market or trying to exploit those who are purchasing an animal in the market. Qurbani, this is the spirit. It has to be made with this spirit, that you're willing to sacrifice, Ya Allah, everything for your sake. Then we will see the benefit of this ibadah. Every ibadat has a specific purpose. Salah, inna salata tanha anil fahshai wal munkar. Salah prohibits from fahsha, immorality and wrongdoing. And now if we are not praying our salah correctly, it will not be able to fulfill its purpose. The purpose of fasting, la'allakum tattaqun. The goal is taqwa. The purpose of zakat is so that the love of money and dunya is removed from our heart. That yaqeen and love for akhirah is cultivated in our hearts. The purpose of hajj, that the person who visits the house of Allah Ta'ala, they increase in this great wealth of the muhabbat of Allah, the marafat of Allah. And in the same way, qurbani or sacrifice, udhiyah, it has a specific purpose. And that purpose Allah mentions in the Quran, وَلَكِنْ يَنَالُهُ التَّقْوَى مِنْكُمْ. But what reaches Allah Ta'ala is your taqwa. Not the gosht, not the meat. The purpose is taqwa. If qurbani is done with the noble intention of sacrificing for Allah, then we have made qurbani. Then we have made this qurbani. So when you make qurbani, then the correct way, mustahab, is that you keep 1/3 for yourself, 1/3 for family and friends, and 1/3 is for the poor. We must also remember that qurbani is not for charity. The purpose of qurbani is not charity. The purpose of qurbani is to follow millat Ibrahim. And this lesson that we are willing to sacrifice everything for the sake of Allah. The purpose of qurbani is to do ita'at of the hukum of Allah. Sami'na wa ata'na. We listen and we obey. Not specifically charity. If you're really concerned about charity, then we can slaughter an animal every month and we can send the meat to them. Purpose of qurbani is this ittaba millat Ibrahim, is to do amal on the hukum of Allah. It is an ibadat on its own, with its own particular purpose. And if you look at the spirit of qurbani, these days people say qurbani, it's not a Gujarati or Urdu word, it's an Arabic word. It comes in the Quran as well. And there is a word that Allah used, qurban. Qurban means it is that sacrifice we give that brings us close to Allah Ta'ala. You have this word qurb. It brings you close to Allah Ta'ala. To slaughter an animal is very different from qurbani. Qurbani is an ibadat which brings a person close to Allah Ta'ala. There is a great difference between qurbani and just slaughtering an animal. Many of us, we just slaughter, then we weigh the animal to see how much will we get. We store it in our deep freezers for a whole year. Allah Ta'ala is looking at the spirit of that qurbani. لَن يَنَالَ اللَّهُ لُحُومُهَا وَلَا دِمَاؤُهَا وَلَكِنْ يَنَالُهُ التَّقْوَى مِنْكُمْ. Their meat will not reach Allah, nor will their blood reach Allah. What reaches Allah is your taqwa that is within you, taqwa that is within us. So we have to bring this reality and spirit of qurbani back, this taqwa. This qurbani was a practice which goes all the way back to Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam. It was there in the Sharia of every Nabi. And then also that one that we commemorate is the Qurbani of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. The Sahaba Ikram, they asked Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam that, Ya Rasulullah, what is Qurbani? And the Prophet ﷺ replied that this is the sunnah of your father, Ibrahim alayhi salam. They asked that what benefit do we derive from it? The Prophet ﷺ answered that there is a reward for every hair of the sacrificed animal. And then they asked that what reward is there for animal which has wool, Ya Rasulullah? So the Prophet ﷺ replied that there is a reward for every fiber of the wool. There is a reward for this. Before the blood comes down, the first drop of blood falls on the ground, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives all the sins of the person making that Qurbani. This is a tremendous ibadat. And this is also the sunnah of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. During Hajjatul Wada, the Prophet ﷺ, he slaughtered 100 camels, of which 63 camels were slaughtered with the Mubarak blessed hands of the Prophet ﷺ himself, and then 37 camels were given to Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala that he would slaughter them. And when the Prophet ﷺ was on a journey, some safar, and on the days of Qurbani they would begin, then although it is not a wajib, it's not obligatory upon a traveler to offer Qurbani, but still the Prophet ﷺ would carry out Qurbani. And in Medina Munawwara, when the Prophet, on the day of Eid, when the Prophet ﷺ, as soon as the khutbah of the Eid as-Salah was completed, the Prophet ﷺ would immediately proceed to slaughter his animal. And the Prophet ﷺ attached so much importance to Qurbani, he never missed it. The most beloved amal that can be done on the Eid day is to sacrifice an animal for the sake of Allah, do Qurbani. That's the most people ask, right? Every day, there are mukhtalif, different types of ibadat that you can do. On the day of Eid, the most beloved amal in the sight of Allah is to sacrifice an animal. So this is a very important ibadah, a sunnah, that we need to revive. And not just to revive in terms of letter, but also the spirit behind this. Then, practically, there is also another very big event that is about to happen, and that is Arafah. Just in a few hours, we will have people in Saudi Arabia who will be moving to the plains of Arafah. For, depending on where you are, for some of you, the day of Arafah will be tomorrow. And for the others, people here in Pakistan, the day of Arafah will be day after tomorrow. It's very important that we have a heightened sensibility of this day of Arafah. In fact, not just the day of Arafah, all these days of Hajj. All these days of Hajj, because these days of Hajj are very precious. We mentioned before as well that no act of piety done on any other day is more beloved to Allah than the act which is performed in the first 10 days of Dhul Hijjaah. Fasting every day is equivalent to fasting one entire year, and spending night in ibadah is equal to the ibadah of Laylatul Qadr. And the reason is because these days and nights have this nisbat with this noble act of Hajj. But then the climax of all of this great mercy of Allah Ta'ala, there's already so much incredible mercy in these first 10 days that if we can just tap into the power of these 10 days, this power is affecting all of the 10 days, all of the 10 nights of this month of Dhul Hijjah. The climax, however, is the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, which is Yawm al-Arafah. Those on Hajj, it has a very special significance. All the Hujjaj, they will gather together in the plains of Arafah, and they will do what is called the Wukuf Arafah. But those who are not able to go, they should still observe this day by number one, fasting on this day. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned that the fasting on the day of Arafah, it compensates for 1 year of previous sins and 1 year of future sins. And number two, we should be making more and more ibadah and dua on this day. And number three, we should have a feeling, we should always be thinking. And again, not just for Arafah, but we should generally be thinking these days about Hajj. We should be lost in thoughts about Makkah Mukarramah, about Muzdalifah, about Mina, Arafah, Medina Munawwara. We should be all be thinking about that. Those who have been there, those who have not been there, thinking about those places. Use this in our du'as. That, Ya Allah, in this night, in this moment, many of your lovers have gathered there. And Allah, they're asking you, begging you, crying to you. Allah, I ask you, Allah, here I am separated miles away from them. Allah, my heart is with them. Allah, my heart has feelings for them. My heart is connected with them. Ya Allah, whatever you're giving to them, Allah, give to me as well. Allah, however you are blessing them, Allah, bless me as well. However you are forgiving them, Allah, forgive me as well. This is one of the most important things we need to do in these days and nights. Now, observing this day of Arafah is very important. And one of the things is, we mentioned fasting and ibadah, but this day is a day for making massive du'as. Massive du'as. Whether those who are there for Hajj and those who are not going for Hajj, irrespective. Arafat is, like I said, the purpose, the goal of these 10 days. It's the Rukun-e-Azam of Hajj. Rukun-e-Azam means that there is no compensation if one misses this Rukun. If they miss Wukuf-e-Arafah, then there is no Hajj. Al-Hajju Arafah. Hajj is Arafah. It's the Rukun-e-Azam. And the purpose of Arafah is that Allah Ta'ala wanted to gather all of His servants to come to this place, leave their pandemonium of life and just engage exclusively in His remembrance and turn to Him and make dua. Because this is a day when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showers His incredible mercy, His blessings, His bounties, His favors on all the mu'mineen. One of our mashaykh used to say that Ramadan is the mahina, it's the month of work, and Dhul Hijjaah is the month of receiving compensation for that work. Ramadan kaam ka mahina, Dhul Hijjaah in'am ka mahina. It's a month of Dhul Hijjaah is the month when Allah will give you your reward. And always we know that whenever someone wants to reward someone, there are two ways. Either He will give you according to your wishes and desires, whatever you wish and desire, whatever He wishes. And if He is someone very big, He will declare that ask whatever you want to ask. I have a lot to give you. I'm not constrained. Just ask. Tell me what you want and I'll give it to you. And you take your car to the mechanic to get it fixed. You can either decide the payment up front that, you fix my car, this is how much I'm going to pay you. Or you can say that, look, fix this car and then tell me whatever the payment is, I will give you your payment. Allah says in Quran, وَلِلَّهِ خَزَائِنُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, that to Allah belongs all the treasures of the heavens and the earth. The day of Arafah is the day to get these treasures from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever you will ask, Allah is willing to give. Whatever you want to ask, you should ask. And now this is practical. Practically, this is the day for making dua. Whether it's for those it's the day is coming tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, we should spend this day in ibadah and especially in making dua. Ad-dua mukhul ibadah. Dua is the essence of ibadah. Ad-dua huwal ibadah. Dua is ibadah itself. And in dua, it's ajib that we are making dua for the things that we need, but still it is counted as ibadat. When we pray salah, if I pray salah for dunya, that salah will be rejected. In dua, I'm making dua for my dunya, but it will be written down as ibadah in the court of Allah. This is the beauty of dua. And Allah wants us to make dua, and especially on this day. So we should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ask dil khol ke mange. Ask whatever we want to, whatever we need, whatever we desire, whatever we want from Allah. Yes, there is a proper adab to make dua, that a person should seek forgiveness first for their own sins and shortcomings. We make tawbah first and foremost of the sins that we have done. of our heedlessness, our ghaflat, our negligence, we ask Allah Ta'ala for istiqamat on a life of deen, on a life of tawbah, life of taqwa, to have this love for Allah in our hearts, the fear of Allah, the love for Rasulullah Sallallahu. So we make dua for our deen, we make tawbah, but then we also ask about the dunya. There should be no hesitancy in asking anything that we need from Allah Ta'ala. The Prophet Sallallahu said that even if you want a shoelace, ask Allah Ta'ala for that. So ask Allah Ta'ala on this day. Spend this day in dua. Ask for your career goals. Ask for those who want good job. Ask Allah for a good job, for a good salary. For those who are unmarried, ask Allah for a pious spouse. For those who are married, ask Allah for pious children. Make dua to Allah Ta'ala for anything that you need. Our identity is that we are sa'il. We are beggars in the court of Allah. So if that's our identity, our job profile is to ask, then why shouldn't we ask to our fullest? We should dil khol ke mange. Just open up our heart and ask Allah Ta'ala whatever we need. Ask Allah Ta'ala with consistency, and another thing, ask Allah Ta'ala with certainty. And the reason we should ask Allah Ta'ala with certainty is because this day is very special. It's special for the Hujjaj, and because of the barakah of Hujjaj, it's special for us as well. And if it was a matter of our du'as, then we would be unsure whether our dua is accepted or not. But we should make dua under the shade of the dua of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ said that on this day, Allah Ta'ala accepts the dua of the maghfirah for the Haji and the dua which the Haji is making for other people as well. The Hajjaj are there, they're making dua for all the ummah. They are making dua for us, we should be making dua for them. It's a day when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends His incredible mercy upon all the ummah, the entire ummah. So it's when Allah wants to give, Allah ka dene ka irada hai. When Allah intends to give, wants to give, wishes to give, we just need to present our bowl before Allah and ask Allah Ta'ala for whatever we need. It's a one window operation. Like sometimes you have to go to different windows to get your work done. The day of Arafah is a one window operation where Allah Ta'ala is giving us a blank check. That right, just present your bowl and ask whatever you want to. Allah's niyat, Allah's irada is to give. And when someone's irada is to give, then it's very easy to get from that person because you just have to ask. But if that person wants to give, wishes to give, and we don't ask from that person, then we are depriving our own self. We just need to go and ask Allah Ta'ala. And why shouldn't we ask Allah Ta'ala? This is one opportunity that Allah Ta'ala has given us. If we blow this opportunity away, then what happens is, all of us know what happens. That we spend the entire year complaining to other people about our situation. We start to ask other people that give me this and give me that. And this is, if we don't ask Allah, then we will end up asking other people. We'll be complaining to other people about our situation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that being who is mughayyirul ahwal, who can change our situation. If our situation is difficult, if there is some financial difficulty, some other problem in our life, some other difficulty, some other hardship, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mughayyirul ahwal. He is the changer of our conditions. Allah Ta'ala can change our situation. Allah Ta'ala can change the events of our life. Our problem is that we don't reach out to Allah Ta'ala in such moments of kubuliyat. And then throughout the year we are complaining that I'm worried about my job, I'm worried about this issue, that issue with my kids, with my children, with my husband, with my wife, with my in-laws. These are the most afzal ayyam. In a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, the most afzal ayyam are these days. The Prophet ﷺ told us that on this day of Arafah, shaitan is dismayed, saddened, and humiliated. And the extent to which shaitan is humiliated and saddened on this day of Arafah, the Prophet ﷺ said that I've never seen him on any other day except for Badr. That either it was the battle of Badr, on that day shaitan was saddened and dismayed, and after that it was this day of Arafah. Why? Because shaitan sees that all the effort that I did on this person to bring him away from Allah. This person now is turning to Allah Ta'ala in Tawbah. This one Tawbah is going to wipe away my whole effort. The years of his efforts are gone. A lifetime of sin can be forgiven on this day if a person makes true Tawbah. So it's a day for making true Tawbah to Allah Ta'ala. And it's a day to make true du'as to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we should not feel any hesitancy or shyness in asking. Ask whatever you want to ask. Once there was a person who went for Hajj and he held on to the Ghilaf-e-Kaaba and he was making dua that Allah, I ask you for millions and millions of dollars. And the other person was sitting, we heard this dua and he sort of said that you're asking for this much, for this is so much. And he said that mind your own business, I'm not asking you. I'm not asking you. Right? We're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For Allah Ta'ala, nothing is less, nothing is more, nothing is less. Allah will wants to give. So we should look at the azmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and then ask. And ask with certainty, and yes, ask with humility. Because zor zabardasti nahi. We're not trying to force our way in. We should ask, display humility, ajizi, begging, asking Allah that Allah send your fazl and rahmah, and with your fazl and rahmah, Allah accept these du'as, accept our tawbah. So there is phenomenal, incredible power in these moments, this day of Arafah. One moment is enough to make a fasik person, a person who is distant from Allah, that person become the muqarrab of Allah, the wali of Allah. These are the golden moments of our life that are coming up. The prime time of our life, the prime moments of our life. You should make dua individually, you can make dua collectively, make dua with your tongue, make dua by raising hands. When you get tired of raising hands, make dua silently with your tongue. When the tongue becomes tired, make dua with your heart. Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he said that the best dua is the dua of tears. Make dua with your tears. Make dua with this ajazi, with this desire, with this tadap, with humility. A mother, people ask that, what dua should I make? A mother who has lost her child, she doesn't need to be told what dua to make. She knows what she has to make, what she has to ask. Her heart is bleeding with that pain, with that sadness, with that desire, with that tadap. That's how we should be. That someone who we just have to present ourselves to Allah. Allah, my life depends on you. Allah, my everything in life, Allah, depends on you. Allah, I'm asking you. I'm presenting my whole self to you. Hajjaj bin Yusuf, when he came to Baytullah, he saw a blind man and he was making dua that Allah, give me my eyesight back. Allah, give me my eyesight back. So that blind person, he had completed 3 rounds around Khane-e-Kaaba. So Hajjaj bin Yusuf told him, look, I'm starting my tawaf right now. If you don't get your eyesight back before I finish my 7 rounds, I'm going to kill you. And now Hajjaj bin Yusuf, he was known like a person who would do what people, whatever he said, he would just carry out that command. So then what happened was that this blind man, he made dua, and he made dua with so much ajazi, so much desire, so much tadap, that in the riwayat it's mentioned that before he completed his 7 rounds, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him his eyesight back. That's the level of humility and certainty with which we should be making dua. That whatever I'm asking Allah ta'ala, Allah will grant me. This is a big mistake, that we start to doubt our dua. That I am so far away from Allah, how can my duas be accepted? We begin to have shak in our duas, that maybe my dua will not be accepted. No, we should make dua with yaqeen. Ana inda zanni abdi bi. Allah says that I am with my servant as he thinks about me. So we think about Allah with certainty that Allah will accept my dua. Why? Because Allah has made a promise in the Quran to me. Ud'uni, make dua to me, astajib lakum. Surely I will accept your dua. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is promising to us in the Quran that Allah will accept our duas if we make dua to him, then we should have this pakka yaqeen on the promise of Allah. We should have conviction on the promise of Allah, and with that conviction we should make dua. And keep on making dua till you reach Shara Sadr in your heart. But yes, there is a condition, that make dua where your heart is attentive towards Allah. हाँ, दिल में गैर ना हो, दिल को खाली करके मांगे. Empty your heart of ghairullah. Attach your heart to Allah and exclusively Allah, and then make dua with your heart. So this is our time that is coming up, prime time, prime moments to exert ourselves in ibadah, to tire ourselves in ibadah, to seek bounties and blessings and barakat from Allah Ta'ala through dua. And it's a time that we can fix our relationship with Allah Ta'ala. We can turn back to Allah Ta'ala. Whatever distance that has come between us, we can remove that distance. We can attain that closeness, that qurb of Allah through this act of qurbani, through this ibadah on the day of Arafah. These are the moments. We can turn back to Him. These are the days when we can begin to have this ta'alluq with Allah, ta'aruf of Allah. We can attain this muhabbat of Allah, increase in this muhabbat of Allah, attain this ma'iyyat of Allah, this companionship of Allah. These are the days to make Allah Ta'ala ours. Make Him yours, win Him over. And then one last thing, which is of a practical relevance, which is called takbir and tashriq. From the 9th of Zil Hijjah, starting from Fajr Salah, up till and including the Asr Salah of 13th of Zil Hijjah. Again, from the 9th of Zil Hijjah, starting from Fajr, up till and including 13th Zil Hijjah Asr Salah. It is wajib that Muslim male or female, they should recite the following phrase after every fard salah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Wallahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Walillahil hamd. So it's wajib to recite this once after every fard salah for men and women, and sunnat to recite this 3 times after every fard salah. The men should recite this with an audible voice, and the women, they should recite it in a low voice. Many of us, we recite this, but again, like we mentioned about Qurbani, it's not just about the words, not just about the act, it's about the feeling, it's about reviving the spirit. And the spirit behind reciting these words are this phrase. Allah Ta'ala loves us to say this phrase, Allahu Akbar. And Allah Ta'ala has asked us to say this phrase many different times in many different contexts, but the feelings are supposed to be different. The feelings are supposed to be different. So I actually want to mention this, that with what feelings we're supposed to recite this phrase, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Wallahu Akbar, Walillahil hamd. So we start this on the 9th of Zil Hijjah. 9th of Zil Hijjah is Yawm Arafah. That is when we started this particular phrase. Now, what is the feeling we're supposed to feel when we recite this phrase? These feelings will change in these days from 9th till the Asr of 13th. There will be 3 different feelings. The feeling on the 9th of Zil Hijjah, when we utter these words, will be different from the feeling that we have when we recite this on the 10th of Zil Hijjah, and that feeling will be different than the feeling that we have when we recite this on the 11th, 12th, and 13th. So you can slot this into 3 categories. The 9th Zil Hijjah is one type of feeling. 10th Zil Hijjah, which is the Eid day, another type of feeling. And then 11th, 12th, and 13th, we recite this with yet another type of feeling. Now, this is what Mashayikh, they teach us. Mashayikh, they teach us how to feel the feelings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have the words. The Qari will tell you the words. The Alim will tell you the meanings behind those words. The Mashayikh, the Shuyukh will tell us the feelings we're supposed to have when we utter those words. So now, what are the feelings? On the 9th of Zil Hijjah, when a person recites this, we should be feeling the azmat of Allah Ta'ala. That Allah Ta'ala's azmat, Ya Allah, your azmat is so great that it is above and beyond Him having to forgive us. When you say Allahu Akbar, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is greater. This is the greatness of Allah. And what particular aspect of His greatness are we focusing on? That Allah Ta'ala, your greatness is so great that it is above and beyond Him having to forgive us. And then it is only Allah Ta'ala's mercy, that's why Allah Ta'ala forgives us. In other words, if you sin against Him even once, Allah Ta'ala's azmat would have determined that you will be in Jahannam forever. That's the dictates of the requirements of Allah's azmat. You misuse your eyes once, Allah Ta'ala can make a person blind at that very moment. You listen to anything haram, person is made deaf at that very moment. Someone said a lie, is made mute at that moment. But on the 9th of Hijjaah, Allah showers His rahmat also on all the Hujjaj at Arafah and all the Muslimin and Mu'mineen around the world. So then there is a second aspect to the greatness, to the azmat of Allah. And that second, one of the things that makes Him great is this mercy of Allah Ta'ala. The first greatness of Allah is His azmat, that He is above and beyond Him having to forgive us. But then the second greatness of Allah is His rahmat. وَلِلَّهِ الْحَمْدِ. So that's the second phrase. That all praise and any praise and every praise is to Allah Ta'ala, who is so great in His azmat, in His maqam, in His rank, yet He is also so great in His mercy, in His rahmat. Normally, the more senior the person is, the less you think that you will be forgiven. The more senior the person is, you think now I'm caught. But here Allah Ta'ala's greatness, His azmat is so great, His maqam is so great. But then Allah Ta'ala's mercy is also so great. And then we say, وَلِلَّهِ الْحَمْدِ. That truly, all my praise can belong to such an Allah Ta'ala who is great in His maqam, yet so great in His rahmat as well. This is the feeling that we're supposed to have when we recite these takbir and tashriq on the 9th of Hijjaah. Then on the 10th of Hijjaah is the day of Eid. Now Eid is that day that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is happy to see you happy. That's the best way to put. That's the best way to understand Eid. Eid is that day that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is happy to see you happy. 9th of Hijjaah is the day when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is happy to see you crying in tawbah, to see us crying in tawbah, in dua. On the 10th, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is happy to see us laughing and smiling. Allah ta'ala is happy to see us, that we have joy and content and merry and delight. All in a halal way, right? That needs to be mentioned. That you do have that, all that merriment and contentment and joy, but you can find yourself within the halal, within the sharia. So on the 10th, when you say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, what we're supposed to feel is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah, He's far greater than any happiness I could show. Any mehman nawazi, any hospitality I can do for someone, Allahu Akbar. Allah is far greater than any happiness, any gratitude I can bring, I can display, any hospitality I can do for someone for the sake of Allah. Allah is far greater than all of that. So Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah. And then again we say Wallahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. So the second aspect here is that yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so great that our happiness should not even affect Him at all. But then part of His second greatness is how much love Allah has for the mu'mineen. How much love Allah has for the mu'mineen. Because again, the more senior you go, the less affected that person is by emotions. right? If I say something to my brother, he will be affected by my emotion. But if I go speak before some higher authority, they won't care about my emotions. But if you have Iman, then part of Allah Ta'ala's greatness is His love for you. On one hand, so in other words, to be untouched and unaffected by human emotion, that is one aspect of the kibriyai of Allah Ta'ala. That billions and billions of years of crying mean nothing. This is the independence of Allah, the shan of Allah. Allahu Samad. Allah is independent of His creation. He is be-niyaz, doesn't need any of His creation. But because of Iman, the second part of His greatness is that Allah Ta'ala is concerned with our emotions. Allah Ta'ala, He honors even one tear of the mu'min. The unbeliever can shed literally oceans of tears for billions of years. Means nothing. No effect on Allah. But if Iman is there in the heart, if there is Iman in the qalb, this Iman is so beloved to Allah that one tear of a moment is enough. When Allah Ta'ala listens to the tear, He can make it a means for forgiveness and can make it a means for entering into Jannat for all of eternity. Now when we feel this, then we say, Allahu Akbar, walillahil hamd. That only to such a beautiful Allah belongs my praise. That on my small action, this small emotion, my small desire, but Allah Ta'ala values it so much to the extent that Allah forgives me. This is the greatness of Allah. And to such an Allah belongs all my praise, all hamd. So this is the feeling we're supposed to have when we recite this on the 10th of Hijjaah. Then on the 11th, 12th and 13th of Hijjaah, these are known as the days of Tashriq. In English we call the days of drying the meat. Because earlier period they used to dry the meat. This is before fridges, right? Before refrigerators and deep freezers. So what feeling we're supposed to have on these 3 days? Now you can understand the sequence, right? So there'll be first part, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah. When we recite Allahu Akbar, we're saying that, Ya Allah, Allah Ta'ala is far above this animal sacrifice. Far above this animal sacrifice. And He's slaughtering the animal. What does it mean to Allah Ta'ala? Allah Ta'ala doesn't need the animal. He doesn't need the blood, doesn't need the meat, doesn't need the hide. Allah Ta'ala, He's far greater than this animal sacrifice to reach Him, to influence Him. So Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah. But then the second part of the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what we call His qubuliyah, His acceptance. His qubuliyah. That when Allah Ta'ala, He makes something makbul, then it becomes so makbul that even you will imitate and copy it. I mentioned before, Hajra alayhi salam, she is running, searching for water, but she has reliance on Allah Ta'ala. Allah Ta'ala's stamp of qubuliyah came on her, on a woman. And now all the men of Ummati Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam will follow the sunnah of a woman. They will run because of her qubuliyat. In the same way, everything that has this sunnah, that sunnah amal will also have the stamp of qubuliyat. Sunnah is the stamp of qubuliyah. Similarly, Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam sacrifice, this also has the stamp of qubuliyah. So the general lesson that we are learning is that if something becomes qubul, if something becomes approved by Allah, certified by Allah, then if an imitator imitates that action, then just as the original became my Khalil, the imitator will also become my Khalil. This is Allah Ta'ala's greatness. this. This is one of the key things, key lessons of Qurbani. That the Qurbani was so makbool, so approved, that now if we will imitate this amal, hum to nakal kar rahe hain. We're imitating this amal, but just like the original became Khalil of Allah Ta'ala, the person who is imitating can also become the Khalil of Allah Ta'ala. This is the greatness of the second greatness of Allah Ta'ala, which is called Allah Ta'ala's Qubuliyat. Ke nakal par asal ka sawab. That you're just copying, but Allah Ta'ala is giving you the reward of as if you're doing the original. You just have to bring the nakal. You're just following in the footsteps of the Nabiyeen. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is willing to give the same acceptance and give us Jannat. Walillahil hamd. To such a beautiful Allah Ta'ala belongs my praise. Yani I wasn't ready to sacrifice my son. I came straight to the animal. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give the same mahabubiyat and makbuliyat as if a person did the original. So may we love such an Allah Ta'ala, who through his greatness has given us this opportunity to reach him. So we should feel these feelings in these days. That's how these awliyaullah were. Wali. Who is a wali? Wali is that muttaqi, muttabi sunnat mu'min, who feels the feelings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Different feelings of saying Allahu Akbar. Even in Salah, you can't move in Salah till you say Allahu Akbar. What feeling of Allahu Akbar am I supposed to have when I go in sajda? It's a different feeling when I get up from sajda. These are the people who enjoy every name of Allah Ta'ala differently. Me and you, we enjoy every taste of ice cream differently. These people, you enjoy the name of Allah Ta'ala differently. They would feel these true, loving, different feelings for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in any true love, it's like that. Father, he has a different way for loving his son. So finally, on the Eid day, the feeling that we're supposed to have, Eid is a happy day. It's a day to feel happy and to show you are happy. And unfortunately, sometimes we don't express our happiness. The day of Eid is the day to express your happiness. And all family members should feel that you are happy. When they look at you, they should feel that happiness, that you're happy. Everyone should be smiling, should be laughing. The kids should feel that about you. Your spouse should feel that about you. Your neighbors should feel that about you. Everyone should feel that you are happy. We even have this expression in Urdu, ki iski to Eid ho gayi hai. Right? You're supposed to feel happy. And why are you supposed to feel happy? Because Allah wants you to feel happy. I'm happy because Allah wants me to be happy. I'm happy because Allah is happy to see me happy. So in conclusion, we have to feel these days. We have to feel. Our deen is all about feelings. I want to feel the same feelings in my heart about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That same feelings that the Prophet ﷺ had in his heart about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That should be our dream. That should be our dua. That Allah, I want to love you the way the Prophet ﷺ loved you. I want to fear you the way the Prophet ﷺ had khashiyat for you. I want to know you the way the Prophet ﷺ knew you. This effort is called tazkiyah. Nothing more than that, nothing less than that. So we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that may Allah ta'ala enable us to act. Try to make the most of these days and nights. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our ibadah and worship in these coming days and nights. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala connect us to Him and keep reconnecting us back to Him such that we're never disconnected from Him. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. We'll end with the dua, inshallah. سبحان رب الوهاب اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. Ya Allah, Ya Rabbi Kareem, Zalamna Anfusana. Ya Rabbi Kareem, we have done zulm on ourselves. But Ya Rabbi Kareem, we come to you tonight in Tawbah. Allah, we ask that you accept our Tawbah tonight. Allah, we make Tawbah for all the sins that we have done in the past, for all the sins that we remember, for all the sins that we have forgotten, for all the zulm that we did on our own selves, for all the zulm that we did to other people. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, whatever zulmat that has come in our life because of our sins, Ya Rabbi Kareem, we ask you by your rahmah that you remove that zulm, that you remove that darkness, that you remove that zulmat. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, whatever distance that has come between us and you because of our sins, Allah, we ask that you remove that distance. Ya Allah, allow us to feel your intimacy. Allah, accept us for your qurb, for your closeness. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, we want to discover you in these days and nights. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, we ask you that you grant us your ta'alluq. Allah, accept us for your ta'aruf. Ya Rabbi Kareem, increase us in our love for you. Allah, ignite the flame of your muhabba in our hearts. Ya Rabbi Kareem, grant us intensity in our muhabbat for you. Ya Rabbi Kareem, remove all the unlawful loves from our heart. Allah, remove all the unlawful loves for Ghairullah that we have in our hearts. Ya Rabbi Kareem, empty our hearts of Ghairullah. Ya Rabbi Kareem, remove all the nafsani, shaitani, hevani muhabbat in our hearts. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, allow us that we can remember you with the full oneness in our hearts. Ya Rabbi Kareem, grant us tawfiq that we can love you with the core of our hearts, with the fullness of our hearts. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, we ask you that you wipe away all the impurities from our hearts. Allah, remove the ghafla from our hearts. Allah, remove the blackness and darkness from our hearts. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, remove the hardness of our hearts. Ya Rabbi Kareem, you are Muqallibul Qulub, you're the changer of hearts. Our hearts are between your two fingers. Yuqallibuha kayfa yasha. You can turn our hearts wherever you wish. Ya Rabbi Kareem, flip our hearts towards you, towards your muhabbat, towards a life that is pleasing to you. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, accept our tawbah tonight. Allah, grant us a life of tawbah. Grant us istiqamah on a life of tawbah. Allah, grant us a life of istiqamah on taqwa. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, include our names amongst the muttaqeen, the muhsineen, the mukhlisin, the sabirin, the shakirin. Allah, all the sifat, the mu'minana that you have mentioned in the Quran. Allah, beautify us with those sifat, Ya Allah. Allah, adorn us with praiseworthy character and akhlaq, and remove all the blameworthy attributes from our hearts. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, we are sick and tired of leading such a life which is distant from you. Allah, we ask that you draw us close to towards yourself. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Allah, these are blessed days and blessed nights. Ya Rabbi Kareem, your rahmat is in full force. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, your beloved ibadat of Hajj has begun. Allah, your beloved lovers and your lovers, Allah, have gathered in that assembly of love. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, we ask you by the barakah of this ibadah of Hajj, by the barakah of the Hujjaj who have gathered to please you, by the barakah of the du'as that the Hujjaj are making at your court. Ya Rabbi Kareem, we ask you by the barakah, Allah, we ask you by your rahmah that you, Allah, adorn us also with that same sifat that you're adorning them with. Allah, that you accept our tawbah as well, that you forgive us also for all our sins. Ya Rabbi Kareem, that you beautify us, Ya Allah, in a way that we become beautiful to you. Allah, adorn us in such a way that we become pleasing to you. Allah, remove all the blameworthy traits from us. Allah, remove all the shortcomings from us, all the flaws and faults, Ya Allah. Ya Rabbi Kareem, allow us to become in such a way that we become pleasing to you. Ya Rabbi Kareem, enable us to live such a life that is makbul to you. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, just like you gave Qubuliyat to Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam. Ya Rabbi Kareem, we also make dua to you tonight. Allah, grant us also Qubuliyat. Ya Rabbi Kareem, just like you chose Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam to construct your house, Baitullah Sharif. Allah, we also ask you that you grant us tawfiq, that we can also build some masjid, some madrasa in our life. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, you made the awlad of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam pious and helper to him in this work of deen. Allah, we also ask you for pious awlad. Allah, make our awlad the coolness of our eyes. Allah, make our awlad also right, upright and righteous and pious. And Allah, accept them for deen. Accept them for the khidmat of deen. Allah, accept us and our awlad to come for the khidmat of deen. Ya Rabbi Kareem, make them helpers to us in our task of deen. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, we ask you, just like you granted Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam this maqam khalis, this maqam tawheed, that he broke all the idols. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, we also ask you that you grant us that same maqam tawheed, that we can also break all the idols that are outside of us, and all the idols that are within us. Ya Allah, allow us to break the idol of our nafs. Allah, our nafs has become nafs amara. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, make this nafs mutma'inna. Allah, make this nafs me mutma'inna. Allah, grant us kamil iman in our hearts. Allah, grant us the sweetness of iman, the halawat of iman. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, grant us the strength of iman, the lazzat of iman. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, grant us yaqeen on your zat. Allah, grant us yaqeen on your promises. Allah, grant us conviction in our iman. Allah, grant us, Ya Allah, ilmul yaqeen, ainul yaqeen, haqqul yaqeen. Ya Rabbi Kareem, grant us shara sadr in our iman. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, just like, Ya Allah, you made the fire cool down and made that into a garden for Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam. Allah, we ask you that you, Allah, make the fire of Jahannam, save us from that fire of Jahannam, and Ya Allah, allow us to enter into the garden of Jannah on the day of Qiyamah. Ya Rabbi Kareem, accept this dua from all of us tonight. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, just like you give kubuliyat to each and every individual in the family of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam. Allah, we ask you that you give kubuliyat to each and every individual in our own family. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, you gave Mahajar alayhi salatu wasalam such a kubuliya. Allah, make the women of our house also follow in the footsteps of Mahajar alayhi salatu wasalam. Allah, grant them that same iman that she had, that same tawakkul that she had on you, that same yaqeen and iman and conviction that she had on your that she had on your being, Ya Allah. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, grant the women of our house that same sabr and that same shukr, that same tawakkul, that same iman that she had. And Ya Rabbi Kareem, grant them that same kubuliya that you gave her. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salam, Allah, you accepted him to be such a obedient son. You accepted him to be the helper in building Baitullah Sharif. Ya Rabbi Kareem, make dua for our awlad as well. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, make our awlad the coolness of our eyes. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, you allowed this nemat of Zamzam to flow, Ya Allah, from the family of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam. Ya Rabbi Kareem, we also ask you that you allow such a Zamzam to flow from us as well. Allah, allow some uh, Zamzam of ilm to flow from our family. Allah, allow this Zamzam of your qurb and muhabbat to flow from our family. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, from Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu islam. Allah, you allowed all the Anbiya alayhi salatu islam to come from his progeny. Allah, in the same way, Ya Allah, we ask you that you allow that the awliya can come from within our family as well. Ya Rabbi Kareem, all the neek ruh that are supposed to come, allow them to come from our families as well. Allah, you sent the Prophet ﷺ to come from the family of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, allow that some mujaddid can come from our family as well. Ya Rabbi Kareem, accept us, accept our descendants, accept our generations to come ila yawm ad-din, for the khidmat of deen, Allah, for the service to deen. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, accept these du'as from all of us tonight. Ya Rabbi Kareem, for those who have gone for Hajj, Allah, we make dua for them. Ya Rabbi Kareem, grant them Hajj Mabrur, Hajj Makbul. Ya Rabbi Kareem, save them from any calamity or hardship or difficulty, and grant them full and choicest reward for this ibadah that they're offering. Ya Rabbi Kareem, accept all the du'as that they're making for themselves and all the du'as that they're making for the entire Muslim Ummah. Ya Rabbi Kareem, allow us to be a part of their du'as. Ya Rabbi Kareem, allow us to be part of their du'as. Ya Rabbi Kareem, we make dua for them. And Ya Rabbi Kareem, we ask you that you accept their du'as on behalf of the entire Muslim Ummah. Allah, because of them, Ya Allah, we ask you that you shower the entire Muslim Ummah with your maghfirah, that you shower the entire Muslim Ummah with your rahmah, that you shower the entire Muslim Ummah with barakah and afiyah. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, we accept these du'as from all of us tonight. Whatever pious intentions that we have in our hearts, Ya Rabbi Kareem, accept these intentions from us as well. And Ya Allah, the day of Arafah is coming, then the day of Eid is coming. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, enable us that we can maximize from the barakah of these days and nights, and we can spend these days and nights in such a way that we can make ourselves pleasing to you. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. Ya Rabbi Kareem, Ya Allah, we ask you that those who have yet to offer our Fard Hajj, Allah grant us tawfiq and the ability to go there in the best of ways, in the best of manners, in such a state, in such a year that Allah you have decreed for us and that you have accepted this ibadah from us. Ya Rabbi Kareem, call us to you only when we can make ourselves pleasing to you and you will become pleased with us. And Ya Rabbi Kareem, those who have offered their Fard Hajj, Allah accept this Hajj from us, and Ya Allah enable us to continually visit Makkah Mukarramah and Madinah Tayyibah throughout our lives. Ya Rabbi Kareem, open up the doors of Makkah Mukarramah and Madinah Tayyibah for us once again. Ya Rabbi Kareem, open up the doors of Haramain al-Sharifain for us once again. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله تعالى على حبيبه خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.